This young guy has come to the world's worst jail, located on a remote island where prisoners are essentially forbidden from leaving their cells. He still believes he can get out, however. In 1931, Papon, a guy, is breaking into a safe in order to take some jewels. After snatching the gems, he jumps out of the window to avoid being seen and makes his way through the crowded streets of Paris to a bar, where he hands the diamonds over to the leader of the French mafia. Although the employer is pleased with Papon, he warns him that he would face swift consequences if he ever crosses him. After that, Papon finally gets to see Nanette, the love of his life, and offers her a necklace that he took from the safe but stored for himself. In addition, he confesses that he retained a few of the jewels for himself. All of this is seen by a mafia guy. Papon and Nanette had a wonderful evening together, drinking and being utterly smitten. Their joy is short-lived, however, as investigators come the next morning and detain Papon for the death of a pimp who was present at the same club where he had spent the previous evening with the mob leader. Papon becomes aware that he is being set up after recalling how the mafia beat up the pimp the night before. He tells Nanette that he has a flawless alibi since he spent the whole evening with her. Therefore, he would be OK. But when Papon and Nanette eventually cross paths in jail, he tells her that the whole legal system is corrupt and that filing an appeal in court is pointless. He has been sentenced to life in prison and is being set up by very powerful individuals. He tells Nanette that while he is totally focused on getting away right now, she should move on and forget about him since he has no idea how long that may take. Overhearing this talk, a guy by the name of Julo tells Papon that he would need a lot of money if he wants to flee. After Papon and the other new prisoners go through a medical examination, they are all told that they are going to be taken to a jail in the French Guiana penal colony. It's well known that the jail is an awful place from which no prisoner has ever survived. While traveling to the jail by ship, Julo shows Papon a guy by the name of Dega and informs him that Dega is a proficient counterfeiter who has earned millions of dollars from this illegal enterprise. Thus, he must have a lot of money on him. Papon walks up to Dega and extends an invitation. Dega is in great danger, according to Papon, since everyone on this ship wants his money. He promises to keep Dega safe in exchange for Dega helping to finance his escape. Dega declines this offer because he believes that as long as the guards are around, he will be protected from the other prisoners. But when night comes, one of the prisoners murders the guy who was sleeping next to Dega with great violence, slitting open his stomach to get concealed cash. Dega accepts Papon's offer after realizing that the guards don't care whether they murder each other. The next morning, he promises to give Papon all the money he needs provided Papon looks out for him until he gets settled in the jail. When Papon makes it apparent that he would be leaving on his own, Dega responds that it is okay, since he has an appeal pending in court and will be released shortly. When one inmate approaches Dega the next night with a knife, Papon notices and assaults him. There is a vicious fight that lasts for many minutes until the guards decide to intervene. Examining the prisoner's fists, they find that Papon was one of the fighters. He is punished by being shackled so tightly that he is unable to move. The ship eventually reaches the island containing the jail early the next morning. After snatching a knife among the mayhem the previous evening, Julo wounds his own knee and is taken to the hospital. When the remaining prisoners get at the jail, the top warden gives them a speech. He informs them that he is aware of their plans to flee and forewarns them that even if they are able to elude the guards' gunfire, all that lies ahead of them is a vast expanse of ocean home to ravenous sharks. He also tells them that if they manage to break out on their first effort, they will serve 2 years in solitary confinement, and if they manage to escape on their second attempt, they will serve 5 years in solitary before serving a life sentence at Devil's Island, which is a real hellhole. As Papon's jail sentence starts, he quickly forms relationships. He requests that Dega and he be stationed in the hospital by the official in charge of assigning responsibilities. Dega makes an effort to fit in as well, but since he is a member of high society, his courteous demeanor and way of speaking are not well appreciated in jail. They will have to pay $1,000, the guy claims. Papon insists that they also receive smokes at such a hefty cost. Dega continues, saying that as an artist, he needs a notepad. When the prisoners learn that someone has fled from the hospital the next day, Papon believes it to be Julo. That there is a chance to get out of this jail pleases him. Just before Papon and Dega are about to be transferred to the infirmary, Dega's son-in-law is captured with counterfeit bonds that Dega created. The deputy warden informs Papon. He puts Papon and Dega to work in the mines as payback. Dega is now sketching a picture of his spouse. He assures Papon that he is sure his wife will pursue his appeal and secure his release, given that the wife now has complete control over Dega's money and may spend it any way she pleases. Papon is dubious of this. She probably won't spend it attempting to free him. While pulling a cart one day, Dega tells Papon that he has diarrhea and that his money, which he usually hides up his butt, has slipped out. Before the guards realize what is happening, Papon stops the cart and locates the money. Papon encounters Cellier during a break. Like Papon, Cellier was once in the Navy before turning to a life of crime. Cellier claims that Papon can arrange for his friends outside to send them a boat so they can get off the island if he can figure out a way out. A local pimp who takes women to the island for the guards gets a ride from them on the way back to jail. Papon promises the pimp a $2,000 incentive if he can get them onto a boat. The pimp claims that he is only going to be on the island for the next 3 weeks and that his charge is $5,000. When Dega is attacked by several more prisoners back at the jail, Papon stands up for him. In the violent altercation, Papon rips off the ear of a prisoner. Later, when Dega attempts to speak to him, Papon shouts at him because he is angry that Dega is such an easy target and that he must constantly risk dying for. During the night, Dega expresses his desire to go with Papon, since it seems that he won't make it through till his appeal. Dega is too sensitive and would be a liability in the escape plot, so Papon declines. Subsequently, all the prisoners are assembled, and Julo is shown to them. He will be put to death since his effort to flee was unsuccessful, and he murdered a guard in the process. He gets guillotined in the head. Julo's corpse is to be carried to the bush by Papon and Dega. When she sees the blood pouring from the severed neck, Dega breaks down completely. He can't even move. Papon assaults the guard from behind and knocks him unconscious as the guard begins to lash him. Papon grabs the opportunity and runs for it. The guards are after him, but he escapes unharmed. Dega is returned to his cell. When Papon goes to the pimp's home in the evening to board his boat, the pimp betrays him. A group of armed guys encircle him. The pimp admits that the top warden will provide twice as much for a prisoner's return, regardless of the incentive he gives. When Papon returns to the jail, the warden tells him that he will be held in solitary confinement on a separate island for the next 2 years. He informs Papon that the goal of solitary confinement is to deprive a person of hope and shatter his mental state. Papon discovers in isolation that there is a unique regulation pertaining to upholding total quietness at all times. He attempts to maintain his composure under these circumstances. Arriving to bash him up is the guard who Papon knocked unconscious. A coconut with a letter stating that Papon would get one every day ends up in his water one day. He understands that Dega most likely paid the guard, and he feels encouraged by this show of support. In order to preserve his physical and emotional well-being, he makes the decision to start exercising. But shortly after, a security finds the coconut while checking Papon's water. When Papon tells the warden, the latter wants to know who is providing him the merchandise. The warden cuts Papon's food allotment in half as punishment for his refusal to turn on Dega. Papon's face and physique show indications of malnutrition after he has been surviving on half rations for a few months. After many months under these agonizing circumstances, the warden comes back and offers Papon a delicious dinner in exchange for the supplier's name. Papon feeds the warden the dinner as a way of protesting his non-compliance. The warden gives the order to keep Papon in total darkness for the duration of his isolation. Papon begins exploring his pleasant recollections in the dark, but they soon blend with hallucinations in which Dega appears as a mime. He imagines that there is a safe within the cell wall, and he attempts to open it as he used to, but he is unable. At last, the safe opens on its own, signifying that something is also opening up in Papon's head. After 2 years, the guards show there to remove an unconscious Papon and transport him to the hospital. It is revealed that Dega was able to win the warden's favor during this period and is now employed by him as his accountant. When Dega arrives to the hospital, she sees Papon wearing a pretty blank look. He apologizes as it is his fault that Papon is in this situation. He concedes that Papon was correct when he said that his wife had betrayed him by getting married to his lawyer. Abruptly, Papon grinned and said something disparaging about her. Dega is relieved to hear that Papon is well and is only pretending to be insane in order to remain in the hospital. When Dega questions Papon about why he didn't tell the warden his identity, Papon responds that he was aware that Dega wouldn't make it through the fallout. If Papon manages to get out of this institution, he promises to live a radically different life. He's changed from being alone. According to Dega, the warden will show a movie in the prison's courtyard for the local leaders who will be visiting on Sunday. The visitors will have a chance to escape as the guards will be concentrating on them. Papon explains that because Cellier can get them a boat, they will need his assistance. Papon then becomes irrational and yells for Dega to go. Playing along, Dega orders the guards to put him in restraint. Papon takes a sedative from them, which he keeps a secret. Papon overhears a nighttime sexual harassment of Marit, a prisoner, by the hospital guard. He informs Marit he has an escape route, but on Sunday night, Marit will have to divert the attention of the hospital guard. Marit concurs, although he adds that this approach had better succeed given the nature of the distraction. Cellier makes an incision on himself to enter the hospital and take part in the escape strategy. To put them in the beverages he'll serve the guards on Sunday. Papon gives Dega all the sedatives he's been hiding. When Sunday night comes, the 4 prisoners begin carrying out the plan. Dega offers a drink spiked with sedatives to the guards. Concurrently, Morit reluctantly proposes a private conference in the restroom with the hospital guard. Papon and Cillier turn their bedposts into weapons and use them to take out the guard while he is having fun with Morit. The plan is ruined when the 3 guys get past the drug guards and wait for Dega just as it begins to rain. At that point, all of the politicians and guards go inside. Papon says they will wait for Cillier, who proposes that they abandon Dega and flee. When Dega shows there, he confesses to having taken the watchtower's keys. Rain has knocked out the electricity, so they may take advantage of the cover of darkness to get out of the tower. Even though the group makes it to the top, they ultimately face a fall. 3 guys leap down with style, but Dega hurts his foot and has to be carried by Papon and Morit. They finally feel free when they meet with Cellier's contact, pay him, board the boat, and go off into the ocean. Their relief is short-lived, however, as they quickly discover that their boat is full of holes, and they must remove water from it on a regular basis to keep it afloat. Cillier tells Papon that Dega's disability makes him a liability, and that they should get rid of him since their boat cannot support the weight of 4 men. Papon brushes him off, but Cillier becomes more persistent on this theory as they see a storm developing in the horizon. He pulls out a knife, starting a fight that almost results in Papon's death and throws Morit overboard. But this time, Dega rescues him and stabs Cillier many times. The 3 guys toss Cellier's corpse into the sea as Morit climbs back in. When Dega collects his wet sketches, the 3 men attempt to weather the storm but are unable to do so and are struck unconscious. Then, after waking up in a shack, Papon goes outdoors and encounters a nun. She informs him that he is in Colombia and divulges that she is aware of his origins. As long as he discovers God and repents, she adds, everything will be ok. Dega is too disturbed up after the Cillier event to accept Papon's request that they go. Papon finds Dega. Papon makes the decision to go alone, but as he does so, he notices an approaching police vehicle. Prior to the 2 of them being able to flee, the guards see him running back to save Dega. Matchett is shot while attempting to flee. He undoubtedly made the greatest sacrifice for this scheme, poor man. They find out that the nun, far from having found God and repented, had phoned the police. Papon is sentenced to 5 years in isolation for his second attempt at escape. He seems to be an elderly guy who has lost strength when he speaks again. The warden is taken aback, however, since nobody has ever made it through 5 years in isolation. When he asks Papon what has kept him going, Papon remains silent. After that, Papon is sent to Devil's Island, where he will spend the remainder of his days. No one can get away from the island because to its steep cliffs. Papon visits deranged prisoners residing on Devil's Island after breaking in. He discovers Dega among them. The warden put her here 5 years before. Dega feeds Papon, shows him his home, and lets him rest and heal. After a while, Papon walks outside and looks out to sea. He informs Dega he has a fresh escape strategy when he wakes him up one night. All they have to do, he adds, is construct a raft, survive the leap, and the currents will bring them back to the mainland since the waves surrounding the island are powerful. Dega assists Papon in building the raft out of coconuts, but the day before the attempt, he makes it clear that he intends to remain on the island, claiming that Papon does not belong here. Knowing this, Papon tosses the raft into the sea and dives in after it. When he makes it out of the fall alive, both guys yell with happiness and exhilaration. Papon drifts towards liberty. Many years later, in 1969, a much older Papon makes his way back to France and sends all of Dega's drawings and his account of his time spent in jail to a publisher. Although he is still sought in France, he has come to this place in order to share his experience.